Let's dive in straight into our conversation for today. We'll begin with enhancing productivity at the workplace. To talk about this, we have in the studio with us in flesh and blood, Dr. Success Haruna, who is an author, a consultant, entrepreneur, and of course is a man of God, is clergy. All of these things, one man is all of them, and today is in the studio. Welcome to an exchange.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here.
It's your first time on the show. I should get a bell that I will ring specially for those who are making their debut on the show.
That's great.
Okay. So since we're talking about enhancing productivity at the workplace, let's understand first what productivity at the workplace would mean.
Okay, productivity at the workplace is measuring efficiency in the workplace. You know, getting the job done as it is supposed to be done, you know, and then getting it done at the right time and in time. That's productivity at the workplace.
Getting the work done
Yeah.
at the right time
Yes.
and in time.
And
So
the way it should be done.
the way it should be done.
Yeah.
So these three factors must work.
Yeah.
For these three factors to work, you have different people in a workplace all set to achieve maybe a common goal.
Yeah.
And they all come from different backgrounds. They have different tasks assigned to them. Now, as the person who manages them, what are those key things that must be in place to ensure that the work is done at the right time and the proper way?
Okay, the first thing I'll say is it's very important for the employer, who actually is the person who employs or the organization that employs, to provide an enabling working environment. It's important for you to provide that enabling environment, conducive environment for the workforce to be able to be productive. If the work environment is not conducive, psychologically for the workforce, physically for the workforce, it's going to hamper productivity. So it's important, the first point of call is that the employer or the organization provide an enabling and a conducive working environment so that the workforce can be physically and psychologically well placed to carry out their duties or their tasks, as it were, in the workplace.
Sometimes some management are quick to go to satisfying the physical requirements that is needed. But let's talk about the psychological part. That's the part that you can't see. It's not tangible, but very important. So how do you apply psychology to improve productivity?
Okay, the first thing you would talk about is motivation. You should be able to motivate your workforce, your team, your employees. And when you talk about motivation, it has a lot of factors attached to it. For instance, you must protect the workforce from toxicity at the workplace. You must be able to provide certain incentives, amenities to make their work very comfortable for them. And like I always say, the pay is very important. You know, if you look at organizations that pay well, they always have employees and workforce that are psychologically balanced to do the job. When somebody is happy doing his job or carrying out his task, you will find high productivity in the workplace.
Still talking about the psychological aspect of it, sometimes workers go through stress, personal stress, and then they bring it on to work. Is there a way to identify or even sort of empathize with workers when they go through different things? If you have a large workforce, sometimes that can be hard. But how do you come to that personal level with staff in order to help them go through what it is they are going through and also still deliver very well at work?
Okay, that falls on leadership. And like I tell people anywhere I go to, it's important that leadership has a face of the human face. You must be humane in your leadership style, in the dispatch of your leadership style. And systems must be put in place, right system. You know, sometimes when we talk about structure and system, people take the humanity side of system and structure and just place it on productivity of work that leads to high profitability. Of course, the business is set up for profitability. But when you put your workforce as priority, you place them first, and you look into their well-being and their welfare, you know, you have that human touch that will actually promote the well-being of the workforce. That will.
Are there certain gender that may need more in terms of the psychological help to be productive? at the workplace?
No, it goes both ways, both male and female. But of course, when it comes to toxicity in the workplace, the female, according to a study done in Chicago, 41% of the workforce, women, the female gender, are the ones that suffer the most. So, yes, it goes for both ways, but of course, the women more.
So most companies have an HR department that is supposed to oversee staff welfare. But what should HR be looking out for? What should HR be doing to make it easy for workers or for staff to carry out their duties? Yes, there may already be laid out rules, but beyond the rules, what should be the function of HR?
Okay, I believe that the first thing the HR department should look out for, like I said before, has to do with the human part of it. In every vocation, in every profession, the moment you take the human side from it, you just lose everything. See, we are not AI, we're not robots, we're not machines, we're humans. And the moment I feel that you are using me, you will not get the best of me. But if I discover that my welfare is a priority, my well-being is a priority, why at the same time you are looking at how effective and efficient I am in carrying out my task, it will bring out the best of me, and I would want to be committed to the organization. For instance, there is what we call organizational commitment, which is expected from the workforce. But when the worker or the employee is not feeling the company in the sense of their welfare, in the sense of the workplace environment, in the sense of their incentives, in the sense of even task-oriented performance and promotion, and all of those things are not put in place, of course, it will not bring out the best of the workforce. So it's important that HR pays attention more to the human side of the job, which is to put the priority, to put the workforce as priority in their rules and regulation or in their system and structure.
A lot of responsibility is placed on management of an organization to ensure that work goes on smoothly and the staff achieve results. But sometimes the management also face difficulties or challenges, as we call them. What are those challenges that may limit an organization from providing the enabling environment to a productive workforce?
Okay, one, of course, governmental policies. The economy of the nation impacts negatively or positively on the company or the organization. And then when the workforce is not productive, when the workforce is not productive, it will affect the general output of the organization. So these are some of the challenges that they face.
So let's talk reward now and punitive measures.
Okay.
These two seem to be like, you must have them in place.
Yes.
What is the way to ensure a balance between the punitive measures and the reward system?
I say every good leader must learn how to hire and fire. You must be able to know first the job description, to know the person that fits into the job description. And most times, some leaders go after qualification, certification, and all of that. But of course, there are some people, I was reading at the time, the Virgin boss, the owner of Virgin Group, he says he doesn't believe in certification. He interviews you and just see, do you have the gift? Do you have the talent? Do you understand the job? Can you deliver? That's what he places premium on, rather than you came out from the university with the first class, you have social certification. That can be done on the platform of brilliance. When somebody is brilliant, he can go to school and then do well academically. But when it comes to the workplace, it's a whole different ballgame, which needs intelligence. So you should be able to bridge between brilliance and intelligence, because it's important for you to carry. So when it comes to that, you know that, okay, when somebody has done well, you reward them. I was talking to a company, and I told them that performance-based promotion is better than promotion that comes from other factors. What do I mean by promotion-based, performance-based promotion? Somebody can be in the company for 1 year and has performed maximally. and the person is not rewarded because he's just 1 year old in the organization, while there's somebody who has spent 10 years in the organization and is just there, So at the same time, while we're bridging the reward system, the punishment system is also very important because that will be able to discourage negative attitude at the workplace.
So the workers themselves have a responsibility too, even when all is being provided. What should be the responsibility of staff towards enhancing their own productivity?
Number one, time management. I have a book I wrote on this. I call it Handbook for Employees. And I said it's important for the employee to be at work at least 10 minutes before work start. If the office open by 8, a good employee should be at work 7:50. Just to just fit into the job psychologically for 10 minutes. Have 10 minutes of your time before you start the job. You'll be very productive. The employee must be able to limit distraction. One of the major distractions in the workplace for employees, social media. You can't be using the company's time for your personal business or personal endeavor or personal pleasure time and all of that. So it's very important that the employee also should develop himself, have some skill set. Number 4, the employee should exceed the expectation of the company. If you're expecting the organization to reward you accordingly, then you should also exceed the expectation and perform very well on the job. So.
Sometimes everything is in place, but you just find that there's a toxic culture in that place. How can a management of an organization identify toxicity in the system? And how do you get rid of it without necessarily getting rid of the people?
Okay, it's very important that every organization have a feedback system, both from the top management level, the mid-level management, and the junior staff. If there's a feedback system that is not corrupt, you'll be able to, ascertain that there should be a feedback system, a reporting system, that is very open across board. Sometimes toxicity in the work environment from the boss or the leaders to the junior staff, and sometimes it could be between the junior staff, sexual harassment, verbal assault, and all of that, and so it's important to have a feedback system and a reporting system in the organization. That way, you'll be able to checkmate toxicity in the work environment.
So I know that we've been talking about how to motivate the workforce, but I know that this thing goes both ways. As much as the workforce needs motivation, the organization also needs some motivation. So in this, not just this part of the world, it seems like it comes from the way children relate with parents. Parents are to give, and children are not necessarily taught to give back to parents. So the workforce are taught to receive, organizations are taught to give to their workforce, but the workforce not really taught to give back. So how can a workforce give back to the management, give back to the organization? What is the way to reward the organization?
By your effectiveness and efficiency. You have to be effective doing the task given to you as it is stipulated and at the right time. That's effectiveness. By being efficient, doing it faster, cheaper, and a better way. That's the way you reward the organization, by being effective and efficient. That's just the best way that you can reward the organization and exceeding the expectation of the organization by meeting their goals and objectives. Also, sometimes as an employee, you can go beyond your job description and do whatever you know will add to the value of the organization. It may not be within the jurisdiction of your job description, but you'll be able to, you do it. That's a way of rewarding the organization.
Does an organization need a psychologist to be there, like 24/7? And if your psychologist is in an organization, what should be the role of the psychologist?
A psychologist is needed in every organization, every sphere of life and society. The role of the psychologist is to help the workforce to meet up targets, to motivate them, to help them be in a good mind space to carry out their job, and to help the workforce to meet up with the expectation of the organization. So psychologists are needed everywhere.
Let's go over again to the point of recruitment. Okay. Sometimes at the point of recruitment, certain factors being put into place. Well, should I pick this person? Should I not pick this person?
That's why you need a psychologist more.
Okay.
Yeah, because there are certain instruments, psychological instruments, that you can use to determine the personality, the temperament of people. Like I said, it's not just about system and structure. It's very important. You have system and structures in place, but there are certain psychological instruments that will be able to tell you the personality of somebody. For instance, you cannot bring a phlegmatic into sales. He comes up with, he went to school and then he studied marketing and he had a first class. Very good result. But he's a phlegmatic. He's always moody. You need a sanguine. A sanguine may not do well in school, may come up probably with a 2 or a third class. But he's a sanguine. He gets in here and everywhere is lighting up. He can close up the sales. So you can only get that from the services of a psychologist who, after the interview processes and all of that, at the point of recruitment, you bring in the psychologist who brings in his psychological instrument to be able to determine what personality goes with what job. You can't bring a sanguine to account. You just mess it up. So it's important. Personality and temperament, very important when it comes to job selection or recruitment.
So finally, as a wrap up, let's look at blending cultures together. So at the workplace, you have people from different cultures. Some you may have from different race even. How do you maintain equity? How do you maintain a balance, regardless of which may be the dominant race or dominant culture in that environment?
That would only be possible if all the employees or the workforce understand the organizational culture. The organizational culture brings people from different backgrounds into the organization, first as a family, second as a team. It's the organizational culture that determines that. If you run the organization as a family and as a team, not having individualistic perspective, then you are going to really achieve that. So the people must understand the organizational culture, and that's why I always tell leaders, or I tell organizations, always have frequent trainings. It's important. Somebody cannot just come in, you employ somebody and you just give him your handbook and that's all. There should be continuous on-the-job training. Off-the-job training is also important. That is majorly for skills, but when it comes to the organizational culture, you can achieve that when you have on-the-job training, frequent training. You bring professionals and experts who train, and then from within, you also train the people.
We must thank you very much, Dr. Success Haruna, for being on the show today with us. Yes, you can just guess from all he's been saying that this is his field, this is his area. When you were talking about the place of the psychologist, I couldn't help but agree with you on those parts when you're talking about, hey, having to know the personality, the temperament of whoever you're hiring. So it goes beyond what you see on paper. You've got first class, you've got 2-1, but what about your temperament? Can you handle this task given to you? Thank you so much for being on the show. I'm sure that employers and, of course, employees have benefited greatly from your submissions on the show today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.
Early exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.